Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Hello, I've just been loving cozy things. This is my new cozy like jacket. I've been loving fuzzy jackets lately. They've been my everything, and it's very cold in my home because while we have heat, we didn't know, because this is like the first time ever this house is getting heat. We turned it on and it smelled like burning last night, and we didn't know if that was normal, so we had to confer. And so while we're like gonna turn it on, we're gonna wait till we're not here just so we don't have to smell the burning. It is normal, but like we don't want to have to smell it. So hi, I'm cold. Hello. So these lights are like warming me though. So today, welcome to Talktorial Tuesday. I feel like I haven't been able to do like a normal Talktorial Tuesday in a while, just because a couple weeks ago it was a Tutorial Tuesday, which I do like doing. And then last week I didn't put one up, which is only the second one I've missed this year. So I'm pretty proud of that. Today we're going to be playing with the Lunar Beauty Moon Spell palette. This is my very first Lunar Beauty purchase, my very first time purchasing from Manny MUA. I had sort of like mixed reactions when he first launched his brand, and I was a little sus, I'm not gonna lie, because sometimes influencer brands can definitely be a little bit like, just feels like a cash grab. It feels money hungry. But the more products he put out, the more I think he kind of found his aesthetic, the more interested I became. And when this palette came out, I was like, okay, I'm very interested. I love the aesthetic. This is the little packaging it comes in. And then you open it up and it looks like a little book. I love the packaging. I love the aesthetic. And I also do love the colors on the inside. I think they're really, really cool. I could have done just a little nitpicky thing about the packaging. I could have done without the gold background here. I think if he had put like a black here, it would have been number one, more spooky, and number two, popped a little bit more. I think the gold, especially when you show it on camera, makes these colors look a little bit washed out, and they're definitely not. They look very richly pigmented. I haven't played with this at all yet, so I'm really, really excited to play with it. I think the vibe is really cool, and I hope I like it. I've never tried his eyeshadow palette formula, so we're gonna get to just play around. I'm gonna try to do something really fun and like spooky. Anyway, so let's zoom you guys in and we will get right to it. Hi, let's first go in. I don't see a sort of like cream color. I've been using these Neutrogena eyeshadow. This is the matte eyeshadow in Toasted Eggshell. I talked about this in my Slays and Nays video, but I have been loving using this as just a base color. I use it like literally every day. And I also did put on an eyeshadow primer today. I used the P. Louise one, which out of all my eyeshadow primers is my favorite, even though it's not like the most amazing thing ever. Still my favorite. I just wanted to give the shades the best chance, especially since it's my first time literally ever touching them. So we're gonna get to see what happens. I kind of want to play with these blues and greens because I feel like the purples I'll very easily be able to create a look, but I want to kind of challenge myself and maybe do some mixtures of like these kind of taupier colors with the blues and greens. So let's go into this green shade Bonnie, this kind of light green shade, and let's just see how it goes. So, ooh, okay. So not too powdery, but definitely a little bit of powder in there. And I'm just using a fluffy brush, and I'm just gonna pop this into my crease. So that didn't do anything, but I did tap off pigment. So I wonder if you're not supposed to. That's a lot better. Okay. I was like, okay, so that was nothing. It's definitely like a greeny brown. It's one of those greens. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I have light greens like this, they just blend to brown on me. And I don't particularly know why. Let's try like a tapping motion. That's a little bit better. The tapping motion is definitely a little bit better. The tap to blend. So how's everyone's week? How's it going? Everything's been so crazy with me lately. Let's see, what are some funny stories? The first funny story actually happened today. Charles and I were just sitting at the house. We have his mom and his stepdad here doing some work on the electric. We're finally getting some aspects of the electric fixed, which is very exciting. I might actually have like a dishwasher soon. So those things are exciting. But we have them here working on it, and they were actually outside doing some yard work. They had this massive pile of metal in our backyard that we collected from when we cleaned out the garage, and it's just been sitting there. So that got taken care of today, and that got taken out. So they were outside doing stuff with that, and all of a sudden I was upstairs and Charles was like, Hannah, stop what you're doing. And I was like, I'm not doing anything. So I ran downstairs. He's like, come here, come here. I ran downstairs and I looked in our basement. First of all, I smelled something, and it smelled awful. It smelled like a literal poop. It smelled like poop. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I was like, this is so weird. And I go over, and the way our house is set up, there's like, you go down the stairs and there's like a hallway. And I went through the hallway and I turned the corner to go look in the basement, and that's where Charles is. And he's like, this is disgusting. And I look, and our, like, where our sewage leaves the street, had just volcanoed human waste out of our pipes. And I was like, ew. I was like, this is literally disgusting. And luckily, like, his parents are here, his stepdad and his mom, and his stepdad noticed that there were people working like on our little pipe that was right on the, like, you know how they have the manholes? They were like working on the pipes outside. And so we were like, there's no way, this is just like our house. So Charles's stepdad goes over there and he's like, what's the tea? Like, what are you guys doing? And they at first were trying to blame us. Like, they were like, oh, like, we did do something, but like your valves should have protected it. Like, there's no reason that like that would have happened to you guys. Like, that's an issue on your house. Charles' stepdad is like, no, that's not the case. And then all of a sudden, I'm gonna go in with the shade Marnie, and I'm gonna go with a little bit of a smaller brush and kind of work on detailing it below my crease, just kind of tapping and then blending. The tapping and blending seems to work well. And so he was like, no, there's nothing wrong with our house. We literally, because it's like new, everything we put in is new, all the plumbing is like new. So we were like, no, there's nothing wrong with our house. Like, we know there's not. And so then luckily, because this was kind of a dispute, our neighbor comes out and he's like, oh yeah, there's poop in my basement. So this happened to like a bunch of other houses around the street too. Like, a bunch of people had this poop like come out through the sewage in their basements. And so they called the city, I guess, and the city came and they were like, well, since it's not broken, there's nothing we can do about it. And Charles was so mad because he was like, you're telling me that they can just pour poop into our, it's not funny, but like looking back, it's really funny. And at one point, Charles' stepdad looked at me, he was like, the joys of home ownership. I was like, yeah, this is going great. And it was just really funny. Charles was so mad. He was like, if I went into somebody's house and I took a poop in the basement, like they would have to clean it up. And I was laughing so hard. It was literally so funny. Now, it's not really that funny because it's cleaned. It had to get cleaned and that was pretty gross. But it's really not that big of a deal. Kind of just an annoyance, but also like something I hope we can look back on and laugh about. I don't know if Charles is ever gonna laugh about it, but I'm laughing. I'm gonna go in with this deep brown shade in Kiki. Kiki's my favorite witch. That's the tea. I'm gonna go in with Kiki and I'm just gonna take a little tapered blending brush and just put that in my outer corner. The other funny thing that happened the past couple of weeks, so I have been car shopping. I've been looking to buy a new car. My car, there's nothing like inherently wrong with it. Like, it's not like broken or anything. It is broken. There's parts of it that like aren't working super great, but it like runs. And the thing is, my whole life, I have just never ever had I've never had a car that was mine that I picked out. I've always had hand-me-downs from my parents, which I'm incredibly, and like my family, which I'm super grateful for because it's allowed me to have a vehicle since I was like 18. Like, I've always had a vehicle to drive, which is super, super lucky, and I'm very grateful for that. However, I'm at a point in my life where I do want to start gaining my own things and like getting my own assets, and like I have the house now, and like I want to start like doing these types of things, and I also just want a new car because mine is from 2006, and while she has gotten me through a lot, last winter I spun out and almost got in a really bad car accident because the car is very, very bad in the snow. If you live in upstate New York, you know, or if you know about upstate New York, our winters are rough. They're really, really tough and they can get really nasty. And when I was driving home from class in a snowstorm, I spun out and it could have been a really dangerous situation. It kind of scared me. And so now I want something that is bigger, because my car right now is really tiny. It's a little Hyundai Elantra. It's a cutie. And it's tiny. And I really want something like bigger, and I want something that's gonna do better in the snow. And I just want to feel like safe in my car. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like getting in that car and not feeling safe in it. And that's just kind of my biggest thing. So I've been looking at cars and I've narrowed it down to a few. I'm not like 100% sure what type of car I'm gonna get. I think I'm going to put a little bit more of this light green just like in my inner corner right here, really pack it in, because then I think I'm gonna cut my crease and go in with this matte shade. Nancy on like the inner corner, and then Fiona on the, I think. Let's see how this goes. So I've been looking around at cars, and I went into a car dealership by myself, which I'm only telling this story. I sound like an idiot when I tell this story, because I made some dumb decisions. I didn't make the best decisions in this situation. I was very excited because I decided I was gonna get a car, and I was like decided on my price range, and I like figured everything out and whatnot. I was all excited, and I was like, I'm gonna go just like talk to a person at a dealership and just like see like if this, because I was looking at a certain car. I'll tell you what car it was. I don't want to like put the dealership on blast because they ended up being really bad. Basically was looking at the Chevy Trax, which is a good car. I like it. It's not the car I'm gonna end up getting, but I do like that car. So I get there and I like explain like what I'm doing. I was like, I'm just kind of looking, like I just want to look around. I don't really know what I'm doing. Like the story of my life. All right, I'm gonna cut my crease now. So I like go in, I talk to this guy. He seems very nice. And in my head, I was like, Hannah, you are doing such a good job at like not getting scammed. He like gave me discounts. He was like telling me all the savings I was gonna get. And I was like, wow, Hannah, you are just crushing this. My head, I'm like, you're doing such a good job. I was like, you're on top of this. Like, you know what you need. And I was like talking to him, and he was super nice and everything was going fine. And so then I call my dad, and I'm like, Dad, I think I'm gonna buy a car. Like, I'm so excited. And he flipped. He was like, you are not gonna buy a car. Like, do not buy this car. And I was like, no, like I'm signing the paperwork, like everything's gonna be fine. And he was like, do not sign paperwork without me looking it over. Like, that is literally so dumb. Like, he was literally like, that's so dumb. And at the time I was so mad. I was like, you know, when Kim Kardashian got a Bentley and she was like, you're ruining my Bentley moment. I was like, you're ruining my car moment. Like, you're ruining this moment for me. He was so right. Always listen to your parents. So he's like, Hannah, he's like, please just like, don't sign this paperwork. Like, I will come in and like, I will go in with you and we can look at it together, and I'll just make sure you're not, he's like, I trust you, like I trust you're not stupid. I was being stupid. It's like, I trust you're not stupid, like, but just let me look over it because I have experience buying a car and you don't. The guy, luckily, my dad told me I got really lucky because my dad was like, I was locked in car dealerships. Like, my dad told me this story about how when he and my mom were looking for a car, the car people literally locked them in the car dealership and wouldn't let them leave and took their keys because they were like potential buyers and they didn't want to let them go. I soon learned that this guy who was helping me was not very nice and really didn't care about my best interests, which I should have known, but I've never bought a car before, so I had no idea. And so I leave. The guy had like, I got lucky. The guy had like a family emergency or something. And it was also taking a while to like run the numbers and everything and get the loans. Like, it was taking a minute. So he was like, all right, I'm gonna let you go and I'm just gonna call you and then you can come back in later tonight and sign the paperwork. And I'm like, okay, good, because I had an excuse to like leave. And I called my dad, and my dad was like, how much are you paying for this car? And I told him the number. And then he was like, what are your monthly payments? And I told him the monthly payments. And he was like, over what amount of time? And I told him, and he was like, that does not add up. So whatever you're paying significantly more a month than what you think you're paying. And then my dumbass did the math, and he was right. I was overpaying by a lot more than what I thought I was supposed to be paying. I was ending up paying significantly more for the car than I thought I was based on the monthly payments. I'm an idiot. So I'm gonna go in with this shade Nancy, sort of like super pretty bold color. So the guy like texts me and he's like, okay, we have it all figured out, like blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hey, like, I'm just not entirely sure if I'm going to like go through with this now because I've talked to my dad, and I think, you know, I think we need to see other options and just kind of see like what's out there. I think maybe I got excited and I just like rushed into it. And at the time what had happened was, even though I hadn't bought the car yet, he was like, oh, let me get you your license plates and your registration and all of that, and we'll pay for all of that right now. So once you get approved, you're good to go. And I was like, okay, because I thought that's how it worked. And so I had paid him like $250, which isn't that much. That's not that big a deal, but I paid him that money. And then I had to leave, and he was like, no, you'll be all set. So I was like, do you think you could like, you know, give me back the money? And instead of answering that question, he's like, what kind of model do you want? Like, what kind of year? Do you want to go used? Do you want to go new? Do you want to do that? He was like, we could do this, 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 and this to lower the payments. We could do the, started like panicking. And I was like, no, like, I just want to look at other cars. Like, I just don't want to look at your cars. I don't want a Chevy Trax necessarily. I think I should like look around more. And he was like, well, we have this option, this option, this option. And at this point I'm annoyed because I'm like, sir, I am now asking you to just give me back my money. And I know I was dumb to give it to you in the first place, but can you please just give it back to me? And I was just like, I was getting more and more annoyed with the situation. And so then over the past few days, I've been texting him every day, being like, cause I have his phone number, texting him. And this guy was like, I don't know, I'm not gonna bash the guy cause he's probably he's just doing his job. But like, I was getting more and more annoyed because I was like, I need to get a refund. Like, I would like my money back. And he was like, okay, well, we got to do this, this, and this. And then he like wouldn't give me an update on that. So I would text him and be like, what's the update on that? I'm gonna go in with Fiona. And then he wouldn't have an answer for me. And he would say, we need X, Y, and Z. And I'd be like, call me, because I can answer those questions for you. He like needed my card number to process it. And I was like, okay, just give me a call because I can help you like process it. Like I have that information. I have my card number. And he wouldn't. And then finally today I sort of snapped and I called the people and I was like, can I please speak to like the financing department? And so I called and she's like, oh my gosh, we were actually just gonna call you. We wanted to let you know this is your last chance to accept our offer, accept our financing offer. And I was like, okay, I'm not accepting it. I was like, that's fine, but it's my last chance. Can you please just refund my money? And she was like, oh, okay, like, yeah. And she was so nice. She was like, yeah, no problem. Like, that's not gonna be an issue. Like, I'll start that for you right now. And I'm like, fantastic. So in my head, the money is processed. And then I get a text from this guy and he's like, we need X, Y, and Z to get this processed for you. And I was like, oh, I just talked to Michelle, this lady, and she told me everything's gonna be fine. Like, she said it was all handled. And he was like, nope, I don't know why she said that. We gotta do this. And I was like, okay. So he's like, I'm gonna call you. And then I don't get a call. So then I call and I call the people he told me to call. And I'm like, cause he texted me. He was like, tried to call, didn't answer. And I was like, well, I didn't get a call. So, so then I call these people and I'm gonna go in with Bonnie and then probably a little bit of Marnie on the outer lower corner. I call these people and I call the lady and I'm like, hi, this is, Hannah Blank and my last name. And I was like, this guy told me to call you guys because he told me that you guys were gonna be processing my refund, that you needed my card information. And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. She's like, we don't do refunds over the phone. Why would I do a refund for you over the phone? Like, I don't know who you are. You could be anyone. Why would I do blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, ma'am. So that's not the information I received. So I'm gonna need you to go ahead and figure out what's going on. And she goes, please hold. And then I get disconnected. And I texted this guy and I was like, hi, they have no idea what you're talking about. Like, they told me they have no idea. They told me they didn't know who I was. They told me like they don't do refunds over the phone, blah, blah, blah. And at this point I'm mad. And he goes, okay, just call them back. I've talked to them. It should be fine. So I call back and I'm like, hi, this is Hannah. I'm like, and she's like, oh, she's like, you just missed him. And I'm like, just missed who? She's like, the guy that I've been working with. And I was like, what does he have to do with this? And she was like, well, he needs to sign something and get something approved by the manager so we can process your refund. So you're gonna have to be put on hold until he comes back. And I was like, well, when is he coming back? She's like, well, I don't know. He could be with a customer. And I was like, can you call him? She's like, well, he's on the other side of the building. And she was like, maybe you could just like let him know. And I was like, I don't work here. Like, I don't know if I'm overreacting, but I was like, I hate bad customer service. It's like my biggest pet peeve because I'm like, I don't work here. Like, I should not have to figure all this out for myself. Like, you guys should just be figuring this out and making this as easy as possible, right? So then fine, I text him and I'm like, hey, they're telling me again that they need you. He's like, they have everything they need. I was like, well, they're telling me they don't, specifically. And I started getting kind of sassy because at this point, I'm normally very, like, I always try to stay very nice to people because it's like, you never know what they're going through. They probably don't get paid enough to deal with my BS, like whatever. But at this point, I'm annoyed. So I'm, because it's like, this has been days of waiting for my money to get refunded. And so he's like, over something I'm not even buying. So he was like, call them back now. Like, they know. And I was like, okay. So I called them back for a third time. And then finally he was like, oh yeah, we know what you need. We have everything you need. Like, don't worry. We just need this. And then I gave it to her and then she was like, okay, it'll be processed in like 3 days. And I was like, okay, thank you. And then I was fine. Like, I was nice because it's like, okay, as long as you're not trying to like scam me, I don't really care. I think I'm gonna put a little bit of the blue underneath as well, just to kind of emphasize, tie it in with the blue up here. I learned a lot from that first situation attempting to buy a car, and that is don't go alone, don't rush, and don't feel pressured into signing something. I'm the type of person that's very like, I'm scared of confrontation in a sense that like, I don't want the guy to like get mad at me for walking away from a deal. It kind of freaks me out, like getting people mad at me or like pressuring me. Like, I don't handle that well. And so I am not the type of person that should walk into a car dealership by myself because I don't know how to stand up for myself to strangers. So that was a good lesson learned. And I'm gonna be continuing shopping. I've been doing a lot more research and I think I've narrowed down more of what I want. I definitely know that I want an SUV, but I've narrowed it down between 2 different ones. And when I end up getting one, I'll let you guys know. Maybe I'll make a video about it and I can put this in a video, like do's and don'ts when buying a car, because this is my first really big car purchase and I've already made a lot of mistakes. And I feel like I screwed up in some places. Let's do a mandatory narcissistic montage so you can get a vibe of the look. And then this blue is just stunning. I love how pretty that looks on the eye. Okay, let's do it. just want you guys to know I'm constantly singing Lizzo in my head, so that's where I'm at. All right, so that is going to be it for today. As for my thoughts on the palette, so far I like it. I think the greens and the blues blended really, really beautifully together. They worked really well together. I like how the look worked. It was easy. I love when I'm playing with makeup and talking and I can just focus on talking because the makeup is so easy to use, and that's pretty much what happened in this case. I am gonna definitely play around with these purples and more of the shimmer shades. This shimmer shade Fiona was a little bit lackluster as far as shimmer goes, but it also is a deeper shimmer, so those can also be a little bit more lackluster. I'd be interested to see how these other ones sort of perform. I think the aesthetic of this palette is beautiful. I think the vibe fall is like perfect. Overall, really, really liked this. I'm thoroughly impressed and excited to like own this and get to play with it. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. I love you guys so much. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, or just like, or just subscribe, or do neither. Honestly, just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, my social media, and everything I'm wearing on my face will be linked down below, along with a link to register to vote. That's right, you can go click that link and you can register to vote in your local, state, and federal elections. And also make sure you're registered to vote. Even if you think you are, just double check, because I guess some people think they are and then they're not. If you live in another country and that link does not apply to you, please make sure that you're staying informed on what's going on in your country. Make sure you're using your voice in a positive way. The world definitely needs more of that. I love you guys so much, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!